This is Majo John Madden in El Diamante, Mexico, standing next to my dear friend Easy or Facile and Mufasa, two dogs who adore me. I arrived in El Diamante, and here's Jason, my third. This is my pack. Jason, you may notice, has an eye missing. The most disastrous, awful event in my now 2.5 months in El Diamante was when the Trojan horse, or I call him the killer dog, a dog who had informally joined our pack. He just wanted to hang out with us. He'd go for walks with us and sleep in the backyard next to my car, or even a few times under my car, which is where Jason and Mufasa usually spend their nights. He seemed fine, but Mufasa never trusted him. Mufasa would follow him around like there's something wrong with this guy. And one day, over food, a fight broke out because I had started feeding him like I do the other three. And they had all had a bowl of food and they were still hungry. And when I turned to get more food, a fight broke out over the food that was out there still. And that dog, who looks an awful lot like Jason, the main distinguisher is no white paws, or especially the white tail, white tip of his tail. Taller, younger, stronger, better fighter. I thought that Jason was the alpha of the whole pueblo, little 400-person pueblo here. But that dog just attacked and attacked, and the only way that fight ended was that in soft-toe shoes I landed a kick on his face that didn't hurt him. He didn't yelp, but he got the message and stopped. But when the fight was over, the two servers in the restaurant said, "Go check Jason, he's been hurt," and he had lost an eye. That was about 2-3 weeks ago. And that guy kept coming back and kept coming back, no matter how many times we drove him away. And this one, I gave her the name Easy because she came after me. She came after me. Street dogs don't approach people. They're used to being ignored by people, and they ignore people. But she came after me, so I gave her the name Easy or Facile. She mostly would hang out in front of the tienda that's back down over there, as Jason would. And they picked up the name for her right away, and now everybody's calling her Easy or Facile, Spanish. I think we're done with that dog. There were 2 more horrid dog fights. The third one was just between him and little Mufasa, who was half his size, and he was like grabbing Mufasa by the scruff of the neck and shaking her like a doll. And I'm convinced that dog will not stop attacking until the other dog is dead. And that's what would have happened to Mufasa if I wasn't there. And I did something horrible and right that I had rehearsed in my head. When rocks weren't, if I hit him with a rock, he would just turn at me and start growling at me, and I'm sure he would attack a person. So it was in the backyard, and where my camper van, broken down, is parked these days. And I went over to the car and grabbed my fish filleting knife, which I've always used as just a kitchen knife. Cheap $8 knife I picked up on South Padre Island. Pulled it out of the sheath, waved it wildly at him, missed a couple times, and then I'm convinced I did lodge the blade between his shoulder blades. It snapped off in my hand. I had just the shank left, and I did not know if it had just done a glancing blow, but I can't find the blade in the backyard, and I think it's in his back, and he's not come back for 3 days. So I was terrified and furious, and I'm proud of myself. It's, for a guy who loves dogs as much as I do, it's unbelievable I could have done such a horrible thing. But I had made a vow to myself that I was going to kill that dog before I left, because with me not around, I was convinced he'd come back and kill any of these other dogs. that I love so much. So it's more peaceful in the valley. Not really a valley. We are at the edge of the mountains back there, sloping down to the sea, which I have not made it to because my car's been broken down the whole time. You can take a taxi there cheap, but most of the time I've been broke. I've been feeding half my money into the mechanic, who finally said, Jack, this car needs a new motor. And we're getting the final money to him today, and he's going to go to Poza Rica, a Pueblo, bigger city, 40 minutes away from here, and getting the new motor, and hopefully I'll be mobile again in a couple of days. And we'll be leaving this 400-person town, which has been awfully good to me, but way too small for me, and she will not let me walk. This is what she does. She just gets in my way, so I cannot avoid her. And I don't, who would want to? She's such a good dog. And she's got 9 puppies now. There's a restaurant across the street here, and next to the restaurant is their house, and back behind the house under some roofing materials is where she's got her 9 puppies. So that was about 2 weeks ago. It's only in the last few days that she's spending more time with us. And in an hour, when it gets daybreak, we will go for a long walk on a back road over there that runs to Mastodon, about a half an hour away from there, over the mountains. And I'm very excited this morning. I've been traveling for 3 years. Love it, love it. I'm so happy about my new life, traveling from Asheville, North Carolina, through Louisville, Kentucky, Chicago, my hometown, 3 fabulous months in New Orleans, the entire Mardi Gras season a year ago, and then a year in South Texas, researching how to get across the border with no documents. And that's a long story why I have no documents on my car. I finally slipped across on March 15th, illegally, and here I am. So my big deal I want to announce this morning is Mastodon, because loneliness has been the big heartache of my travels for 3 years, and that light is too bright, so I'm not going to show this on me because I can't see. I loved Twitter. It was a little impersonal. I knew there were all kinds of problems with it, but I always would say, in this terrible time for the U.S., you got to have good information. I get my information from National Public Radio, New York Times, and the Washington Post, and Twitter is where we all go to talk about it. So I love Twitter, but Elon Musk destroyed it, and my real reason for leaving it, the thing that most killed it for me, was the way he treats his workers. And I'm an old management consultant, and got into management consulting in order to make the workplace better for the people in it. I'm a psychologist, and I just couldn't abide by the way he treats his workers. So Mastodon. I just spent the last hour signing up for Mastodon, reading about Mastodon. You have to apply. Hopefully, pretty expeditiously, I'll be accepted. Then you join an instance. It's very decentralized. You join one of hundreds of instances which do communicate to each other, and apparently part of the trick is picking the right one. And you can read articles about it. Most of them say join through the app is the better way, and I didn't. I did it through the website. This is a Carretera state highway, interstate highway, and it is the main carretera on the east coast of Mexico. Very well paved, very safe, lots of trucks, and people going from the U.S. to Central America drive it, and it's busy even at night, but obviously less busy at 5 in the morning. Okay, bye.